Welcome to our first segment of Monomoy After Hours.
Monomoy After Hours is a show that airs digital media 2 projects.
We are your hosts.
I'm Dori.
I'm Hannah.
And I'm Paige.
In today's episode, we will be showing interviews that our classmates have created.
We all interviewed important people in our lives.
The first project we are going to be showing is Anna interviewing Noah Thatcher, who is an entrepreneur on the Cape and has built a successful business.
Have you ever wondered if you could still be successful without going to college? In today's society, our community has a lot of pressure to get into a good college and eventually a great job. But that's often misled.
Hi, I'm Anna Carey, and I'm a student at Monomoy Regional High School. And today I'm here with Noah Thatcher. So Noah, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Harwich, Massachusetts.
What was your childhood like?
It was a great childhood. I was the youngest of 9 children. We had a big, fun family and a lot of horses and ponies and excitement. We lived right across the street from Brooks Park in Harwich.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was great.
So what did you want to be when you were growing up?
I don't know that I had a dream job or aspirations for too much. I liked the idea of being a builder or construction or something with my hands generally.
So what do you do for a job now?
I'm self-employed. I, through my years, have been able to build some self-storage. I collected a lot of investment properties, so I'm a landlord, and I own a real estate company, and so I've got a lot of things going on that came from a long line of, building things up.
So how did you become interested in what you do?
So I always knew that I needed to work for myself, just the kind of guy I am. And I always thought about passive income, making sure that there was income coming into me when I wasn't actively working. Although as a laborer, I needed to make sure I was going to be able to have an income and make money when I wasn't actively working. So that was something I was interested in as a young kid.
Did you go to college?
I never thought about college. I'm the youngest of the 9 kids, like I said before. It was never really on the table for me to go to college. I was always interested in pretty much getting to work. I felt like there was other avenues for me, but college was not one of them.
And why is that?
Well, with that many kids in the family, my mom was sort of a hippie. She didn't necessarily believe in formal education too much, and I was never given an option to. She wanted me to be a musician or an artist. She was somebody who just never thought of me going to college, so I just did. I went to work. I didn't have any thoughts of taking it any further than even high school, and never made it through high school, actually.
Most people believe that education is necessary. How did you prove them wrong?
I don't know if I've proved anybody wrong, but I worked hard. I like to work, and I had a drive to create something that would sustain me and my family. So I was a thoughtful guy in the way that I approached certain things, and I had a lot of guts. So I would maybe do a project that other people might not do. I'd buy a property other people wouldn't do. So, I just had, I still had drive. I just didn't have formal education in that way, but I educated myself for the things I needed to do.
Looking back, do you regret the educational choices you've made?
I guess I have some regrets. I don't feel comfortable, writing an email. I have regrets I didn't finish high school. I wasn't exactly a good student, and I wish I had done more to educate myself in certain areas. I don't feel like I was held back professionally or making money or things like that. I was able to figure that out, but I wish I was better educated. I didn't go really into my junior year. I did get my GED, and do a little bit of things afterwards, but not a lot. And so yeah, I guess I have regrets in that area, but I was able to pretty much financially overcome those.
Well, thank you, Noah, for joining us today. We had a very interesting conversation.
I agree. Well, thanks for having me.
Of course. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Noah had worked very hard for his business, and it is shown by his success. The second project we are going to be showing is Paige interviewing Dr. Lisa Genova, who is a neuroscientist but is also a published author. Her books are well known, and some have even made it to the big screen, with one of the main characters even getting nominated for an Oscar.
Authors have many purposes like persuading, entertaining, and informing the reader. When writers write books, they are contributing to society and helping shape the world. Reading is an important part of your life because it can improve skills like your focused memory and communication. One author we are highlighting today is Lisa Genova. Hello, my name is Paige Nash and I'm a student at Monomoy Regional High School, and today I'm here with New York bestselling author Lisa Genova. Where did you go to college and what did you major in?
I went to Bates College in Lewiston, Maine, and I majored in biopsychology. If it were today, it would be called neuroscience, but I'm that old. It wasn't called neuroscience back then.
Being an author, what has been the best moment of your career?
There are two that jump to mind really quickly. One was the day that I learned that Still Alice made it onto the New York Times bestseller list for the first time. It's like, I remember where I was on my way to R.J. Julia's bookshop in Connecticut. I was in the back of a car with my publicist and we screamed. The other was the Oscars. I got to go. And so I was there in the audience when Matthew McConaughey said, and the winner is Julianne Moore for Still Alice.
That's awesome.
Lots of crying and screaming and hugging.
What's your favorite book that you've written and why?
Oh God, Paige, that's like asking to pick your favorite child. And I do have a favorite child on any given day. It's like Still Alice is so special because it was the first one and it was inspired by my grandmother, so it's like the most important. But the story I love the most is Inside the O'Briens. I really love that family. I grew up in Waltham, which is a very blue-collar town, a lot of Irish and Italian immigrants, and so I wrote about this Irish family in Inside the O'Briens, and I really felt like I knew them. Like I felt like I grew up with those people, so I felt a kinship there.
Who or what inspired you to start writing?
I was not a writer prior to writing Still Alice. I had no training and no education to do this. I had no conscious idea that I wanted to be a writer until my grandmother got Alzheimer's. And so I was the neuroscientist in my big Italian family, and I figured I'd learn everything I could about the disease and pass that education along to my family so that we could better take care of her. And I learned a lot, but there was something missing. And it was, everything I read was written from the point of view of an outsider looking in. So it was a doctor, it was a scientist, a caregiver, a social worker. And so they all lacked the point of view of the person with it. And so I had a lot of sympathy for my grandmother. I felt so bad for her. And I felt so bad for us for, she didn't know who we were anymore. It was really heartbreaking. It was awful. But I didn't have empathy. I didn't know how to feel with my grandmother. I was really uncomfortable around her in her Alzheimer's. I was 28 when she was diagnosed. And I remember thinking that, oh, well, isn't that interesting? Fiction is a place where you can explore empathy. Like, that's where you get to walk in someone else's shoes, right? A story is where you get to do that. And I thought, oh, there should be a novel written about a woman with Alzheimer's told from her perspective. And I thought, well, I'll do that someday when I'm retired and I have time because I wasn't a writer. Fast forward to when I was 33, I was in the middle of my divorce. I was an unemployed, divorced single mom. My daughter Elena was 3 at the time. And I was really nervous about my entire future. I don't know what to do next. All of a sudden, my life, the way I had planned it, is not going that way. if I could do anything I wanted, what would I do, was the question I asked myself. And my answer was, I want to try to write that book. I tried to talk myself out of it because that is a very scary decision when I don't have an MFA, I've taken no writing classes. I should have gone back to work doing what I was trained and educated to do, but I listened to that voice, that intuitive knowing of, you want to go write this book, give it a try. So that was the inspiration. It was my grandmother who had it, and it was taking this leap of faith of, I'm going to try something that I really have no business trying. And if I fail, I can always go get a job, and I'm going to see if I can do this. My whole life changed.
How do you come up with stories about your books?
Love this question. So I just told you Still Alice. That was inspired by my grandmother. The next book is Left Neglected. It's about a traumatic, it can be caused by a traumatic brain injury, a stroke, or an aneurysm, where the person has no awareness of anything on the left side of anything, including the left side of you. I learned about that when I was 18 at Bates College. I read a book called The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat by Oliver Sacks. He was a neurologist. He wrote a book called Awakenings that was made into a movie with Robert De Niro and Robin Williams, which was really good. So this book was a book of short stories of true neurological patients who all had some weird things going on. And one of the short stories in that book was 3 pages long, and it was about a man with left side neglect. I remember thinking, and he was in the hospital at the time, and he kept throwing his right arm or his right leg out of bed every night, thinking it was like someone else's leg in his bed. Like, he didn't know what to make of it. So I remember thinking, well, what happens to this guy when he goes home? Like, how does someone walk through a whole world if they're only aware of half of it? So that book was just a curiosity. What was next? Love Anthony was inspired by my cousin, Tracy, who's like a sister to me. Her son, who is the same age as my oldest daughter, has autism. And he's on the severe end of the spectrum, doesn't like to be touched, doesn't like to make eye contact, can't speak. He's still nonverbal at 22. And so we have a lot of stories on the Asperger's end of the spectrum, like Temple Grandin and a lot of folks there. But what is the experience like to be autistic and nonverbal and all of that? So that was Love Anthony. Inside the O'Briens is about Huntington's. That was inspired by my first year out of college. I was 22 years old. I was working as a lab tech in a neuroscience lab at Mass General East in Charlestown. And it was February of '93. I still remember it. And the lab was a really long hallway, and there were lab benches all along the length of this building, and no walls separating the different lab groups. And so way down the hall, these neuroscientists start yelling and screaming and hugging and crying, and this is not how neuroscientists normally behave. So the whole hallway grows still, and word trickles down, and I learned that they had just isolated the genetic mutation that causes Huntington's. So I get goosebumps, and I remember thinking, oh my God, that's the only thing that causes this disease. Like, I've just witnessed a historic moment in all of medicine, and they're going to cure Huntington's. Except all of these years later, decades later, we still don't have a treatment or a cure. So I wanted to write a book about Huntington's because most people don't know anything about it. So I wanted to raise some awareness and urgency around getting to a cure. And then I wrote about ALS, and that was inspired by Richard Glatzer, who was our co-scriptwriter and co-director for the movie Still Alice. He was diagnosed with ALS just a couple of months before he read the book and agreed to be our screenwriter and director. And that was knowing that this would be the last thing he would ever do. So I was on set with him. His ALS began, the paralysis began in the muscles of his head and neck first. So he could still walk, but he couldn't talk. And his, I believe, right arm was paralyzed, and he co-directed that movie typing with one finger on an iPad for 12 hours a day. So as they wrapped filming, I asked Richard if I could write about ALS in honor of him, and would he be the first person I spoke to in the research to get an understanding of what it feels like to have it. He, of course, agreed. And our last email exchanges were, I think, a month before the Oscars, and he was, at that point, typing to me with his right big toe. And that was the last I heard from him. He died a couple of weeks after Julianne Moore got her trophy. And then now I did one book that was nonfiction about memory, because I found in talking about Alzheimer's, so all of these books become an opportunity to talk about a subject that people feel a little nervous about, shy about, like, brain stuff, like that feels overwhelming and scary. So the stories become a way in. So I've been using Alice to talk about Alzheimer's for a long time, and I found that a lot of people, especially over the age of 40, are really afraid of any moments of forgetting. Mm-hmm. Like if they walk into a room, why am I in here? Or like, oh, what's his name? Or where did I park my car? Where did I put my phone? They freak out and think, oh my God, like I have such a terrible memory and I'm probably about to get Alzheimer's. And so this is not the case. Like human memory is not designed to be perfect, and there's all this confusion and misconception out there. So I was like, I'm just gonna try and write a book about that to help people calm down and kind of understand the owner's manual of them.
Did you ever think you'd be a published author since you went to school for science, and what was that process like?
Never thought it. I mean, as a scientist, I was published, but like, there's scientific journals, and it's like all brain jargon. So no, I never thought I would write a novel. That was not in my plan whatsoever. And I'm so glad I am one. Like, I really love what I get to do. I love it. I'm having so much fun. And I've started writing movies, so I think that's like, it's fun to think of, well, what can I do next with this, and how can I reach as many people as possible, and I get to keep learning, which is, for me, is fun. It's never boring.
What are some things that you are currently working on right now?
So I just talked to you. I'm working on the bipolar novel. I'm about 210 pages in. It'll probably be, all of my novels tend to run about 300 to 350 pages, which is kind of the sweet spot. So that means I started writing in July. I'll probably finish writing in June for the first draft. So it takes about a year to write a book for me. I've got 3 kids, I'm a single mom, so I don't write as quickly as some authors, but I'm pretty dedicated. So like today, while you guys were at school, I wrote 1,200 words. Wow. So for me, and a lot of writers are similar, when I'm writing, we live by word count. And so I try to write 1,000 words minimum a day, and give myself permission for those words to be as horrible as possible. It's fine, because I can edit something. I can't edit nothing. So I try to get the words down and move the story forward. So what does that mean? Still Alice, I think, was 70,000 words. I think Inside the O'Briens was 85,000 words. Right now I'm close to 50,000 words. So I'm getting there. So the book will be done. I'll finish the first draft by hopefully June, and then I will edit for a while. Editing it's like, think of the most favorite book that you love the most, and now imagine reading it 13 times in a row. It's like by the time you're done editing, you're like, oh my God, A, I've memorized this, and B, I don't ever want to see it again. But so and then it will get released next year sometime.
Do you have any advice for people that you wish you were told when you were younger?
Yeah, I think that, my oldest is 22, my youngest is 12, so I'm sort of in that phase of offering advice to certainly my oldest one as she's starting to sort of figure out life. I think one of the biggest things is that it's all made up. Like, we think we're supposed to do this, and that, right? Like, you're supposed to go to college, you're supposed to get the right degree, you're supposed to get married, have children, buy the house. It's like all of those things. But that was all made up. So if it doesn't fit you, if what culture and society is saying you're supposed to do, all the shoulds, right? You should do this, you should do that. If it doesn't fit and you feel called to do something else, go ahead. All of the rules have been made up. So you can create your own life, forge that path that feels true for you. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. I love telling people this. I didn't start writing until I was almost 34. So my entire career that I didn't even know was going to exist was not a thought in my head until I was 34. So that's kind of cool, because I think if you sort of think about it, it hopefully gives you permission to try something. And if it doesn't work, hopefully you've got plenty of time. Like, hopefully life is long. And so don't be afraid to try things, and if it doesn't work, then okay, try something else. And that what you pick as a young person doesn't necessarily lock you into it forever and ever. I think there's that pressure too. Like, oh, what college am I gonna go to? Like, what am I gonna major in? Like, what's my job gonna be? It's like, be 100% in on whatever you're doing, but it's okay to change it, and life is probably gonna throw some curveballs, and you probably won't do what you're doing at 20 or 25 when you're 35, 45, 55. So, it's okay.
I had a lot of fun interviewing Dr. Lisa Genova, and it was really cool to see how her life made a drastic change. Now it's time to take it over to the next interview. The third project we are going to be showing is Chatham's video about Louis Gillis, who works for a branding company that helps other companies market their new products.
Have you seen this logo? Or this one? Well, the company my mom works for designed these logos, some of the most well-known logos in America. She grew up in New Jersey, worked for a long time in New York, and now she works remotely from her desk in Cape Cod. Thank you for being here, Louise. What was life like growing up in a big family in New Jersey?
It's a great question. It is a big family. There are 6 kids, and hear me out. It actually wasn't as big as you would think. The older 3 are 6, 7, and 8 years older than I am, and so I was sort of the youngest for a while. The younger 2 are 6 and 8 years younger than me, and so I was sort of the middle child for a little while then too. And then when the older 3 went away to college, I was sort of the oldest. So I make a joke that I was the youngest, the middle, and the oldest.
Oh, that is funny. You really were the youngest, the middle, and the oldest at one point. So tell me, what university did you go to and why?
So I went to Rutgers University for college, and I studied chemical engineering and became an engineer. I loved chemistry from my high school teacher, Miss Galikowski. She just really helped me love chemistry, and I enjoyed that career. And my very first job out of school in chemistry, I was a chemist for Lancome Cosmetics, and I actually got to make lipstick and other makeup. And I in fact have a tube of the lipstick that I made almost 25 years ago, but it's my favorite color and I still wear it.
Oh wow, I never knew you made makeup. That's so cool. So how does it feel to work for your current job for over 20 years now?
Yeah, so I work for Interbrand, and I have for 20 years now. Interbrand is a branding agency, which is slightly different from an advertising agency. A branding agency comes up with the name for a brand. They come up with the logo. They come up with the brand mark and the word type and the color palette, as well as advertising frameworks that the advertising firms then run with. And so an example of one that we created the brand Mini. Kind of cool that we did that. We're also known for our best global brands ranking. Every year we do a ranking of the best brands in the world, and we do it by valuation of just the brand. And we're very proud to consider 50% of the top 100 as clients right now.
How does it feel to contribute to a company that has made some of the most well-known logos?
Well, we're really proud of it. We work really hard with our clients to create the logos that they're happy with also. When you think about it, some logos and some brands actually transcend the products. They become the products. Think about a Kleenex, right? That's actually a brand name for a tissue. Think about, you don't say, I'm going to internet search it. You say, I'm going to Google that, right? The brand really becomes the product. Even ping pong is a brand for tennis tables, table tennis. So it's, these brands become more than just what we create. They become something important to customers, and that's what we're striving for.
What do you do as a contribution to your company?
Well, my contribution to the design work is not as a designer. I focus on key metrics and reporting and the financial aspects of pipeline, sales, revenue. It's not really the sizzle part of advertising, but it does help drive business, and it helps us grow, and it helps us meet our targets and exceed sales expectations. And so it's very important as to track that part of the financials of the company, and that's the work that I'm good at, and so I'm very happy to do it for the company. And I get to be around cool designers while I'm doing it.
And Michelle, so, well, is it efficient to work from home?
You know, it is, for me, efficient to work from home. I've actually been working remotely with our offices all over the world. I physically have been in New York for 20 years, working in the New York office, but we have offices all over the world. We have offices in North America, South America, Europe, Asia, and Australia. And in fact, my boss is in Madrid, and one of our clients, Wi-Fi, was in the UK and all over the world, and we were able to work with them and figure out their brand and their logo. I mean, you can't call it 802.11 forever, so we came up with that. Similarly, we were all working remotely with our client in Japan, and we created the Wii name and logo and all that brand for them. So you can certainly work remotely using technology. You use Teams. We used WebEx before Teams was invented. You do video calls, you do email. You're really able to keep very well connected. And because of that, I was able to move out of New York, and we moved up to Cape Cod in 2018, so well before the pandemic and even before other folks were working from home. We've all kind of found that you can work from home and efficiently, and I've been doing it for years.
Wow, you know, Wi-Fi and Wii, those are some really big logos. Is working at Interbrand rewarding at all?
Oh, of course. The work is very rewarding because we get to not just brand products. Right now, we're branding the entire Korean tourism. We've created mascots of tourism for them, and it's been really effective. We also get to brand entire sports teams. We branded Juventus, which is a football club in Madrid. And we also get to brand people. So Rafa Nadal is a client of ours, and we're branding his sports camp over the summers. So it's incredibly rewarding and really quite exciting.
Rafa and his tennis camp, wow. So if you weren't working at Interbrand, where would you work and why?
Well, so I obviously love my work at Interbrand, but I've always thought if I weren't in advertising and branding and I weren't in finance, that I was always wanted to be a chemistry teacher. My chemistry teacher had such a profound impression on me, helped me pick the right career for me, that I always thought I would love to go back and get a teaching degree and apply what I know already about chemistry and help folks out. That's what I would do if I weren't at Interbrand, but I'm happy with where I am.
A chemistry teacher, that's really cool. Well, people, this is Louise Gillis. Thanks for being here.
That's so cool. Now every time I see logos like Wii, I will think of Louise's designs. The fourth project we are going to be showing is Hannah interviewing her mom, Amy, about her nursing experiences after becoming a registered nurse. We will also be seeing what Amy's life is like.
Nurses save lives every day. They are very important people in our lives that we cannot live without. One very important nurse to me is my mom. Sullivan, and today I'm going to be interviewing my mom, Amy, about her life and her nursing career. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, let's get started. What was your childhood like growing up?
I had a great childhood. I had lots of fun. We had a pool in our backyard. I was the youngest of 5 kids. We did a lot of traveling and camping, and we came to the Cape a lot during the summertime.
Great. How did your childhood affect how you are today?
Coming from a very loving and warm family, I knew I wanted to become a nurse and be in a profession that could help people and make people feel better about themselves.
Did you go to college, and what did you study?
I went to Worcester State University. I graduated in 1995 and I studied nursing. And I received a Bachelor of Science degree in nursing.
That's awesome. When did you know you wanted to be a nurse?
I knew I wanted to become a nurse when I was really young, and I knew I wanted to work with children. I enjoyed helping people and making people feel better about themselves.
Do you want to be a school nurse instead?
After college, I worked for a pediatrician, and then I moved to the Cape and began working for another pediatrician. Then I started my family and became a stay-at-home mom. And once my children were a little bit older, I became a school nurse in 2012.
What was your favorite part about being a school nurse?
My favorite part of being a school nurse was definitely being able to work with children every day and interact with staff. I enjoyed teaching. I enjoyed helping children and staff feel better about themselves and feel better when they weren't feeling well and offer them reassurance. And I also enjoyed working with the families of the students.
How long were you a school nurse for?
I became a school nurse in 2012, and I first started working when it was still Chatham Middle High School. So I worked with grades 5 through 12. And I stayed in that role for a couple of years, and then I became the district float nurse, and I worked in all 4 buildings in the district. So from pre-K to seniors in high school. And I enjoyed that role very much, working with all different age levels. Favorite age to work with would have to be high schoolers. I love the little kids, and they're very cute and they're funny and they have funny stories to tell, but I really like interacting with the high schoolers and getting to know them and seeing them grow and seeing who they're going to become.
Do you miss being a school nurse, or do you like your new job?
After working for Monomoy for 10 years, I decided I needed a change. So I became a nurse in Hyannis for Cape Cod Healthcare at a cardiology practice. I love school nursing, but I really was excited for a new change and a different career path.
What do you like to do when you're not working?
Exercise, I like to read, I like to take walks, I like to spend times with my family and friends, and I enjoy taking my dog Dixie on long walks. And Dixie is our rescue dog, who is about 3 years old. She came from Florida. She's about 60 pounds, and she's very sweet. We think she's a lab mix, but we're not really sure exactly what breed she is, but she's cute.
And my last question, do you regret being a school nurse sometimes?
I definitely miss being a school nurse, but I'm really enjoying my new job. I love being a school nurse and working with kids, like I said, and I do miss that piece of it. But this new role is very exciting. I'm learning a lot about cardiology and heart care, and I do learned about myself that I love working with the elderly as well.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for being here today and letting me interview you. I learned a lot about your life.
Thanks for having me.
It was fun interviewing my mom about her nursing experience, and it was interesting to hear about the different nursing jobs she has had. The 5th project we are going to be showing is Sam interviewing her dad, Tom Clarke, who is our school resource officer and helps protect our town. We will also be learning a little bit about his life outside of a uniform.
Hello, my name is Samantha Clarke, and I'll be interviewing my dad, Tom Clarke. He's a police officer and also a school resource officer, and his job entails a lot of hats put on, but at the end of the day, he's still my dad.
Hi, Dad.
Hi, Samantha.
How are you doing today?
I'm great. It's fantastic to be here with you.
Thank you.
What was it like growing up?
I had a really nice childhood. I was fortunate to live on Cape Cod and have a loving, supportive family. They worked hard to provide me with opportunities where I was able to do the things that I had dreamt of doing, and I had a great group of friends, and I just spent a lot of my time working, hanging out with friends, and playing sports.
What are your greatest achievements?
Greatest achievements. In high school, I was on the honor roll. I was a captain, MVP, and all-star of all 3 sports that I played. I went off to college. I played college baseball, graduated summa cum laude with a degree in criminal justice, became a police officer, graduated #1 in my academy class. I was later named Police Officer of the Year in 2013. But probably my greatest accomplishment is just having beautiful kids and being able to raise a great family with my wife on Cape Cod. I feel very fortunate.
What is your favorite part about this job?
Probably just being able to help people that are in need, whether they're experiencing an emergency or a crisis and they need our help. It's nice to be able to offer that help, and it's not like a typical job where you're doing the same thing every day. It's something new every day, so it's not like sitting at a desk where it gets monotonous and routine. You never really know what you're going to face from day to day.
What do you like doing on your free time?
I like to spend time with my family, whether it's going to the movies, going out to eat, playing with the dogs. I also really enjoy watching my kids play sports, but we are very fortunate and lucky to live on Cape Cod, so there's a lot of activities that we have, whether it's walking on the beach, out in nature, going fishing.
What do you like most working at the school?
Probably just having the opportunity to be in the school every day with the kids, having the opportunity to be a positive influence and have an impact on these kids, try to help them out with whatever sort of issues or problems that they're experiencing. I just try to build trust and positive relationships and friendships with the kids, let them know that I care and support them. That way they feel comfortable that they can trust me if they're having issues, if they're concerned about themselves, their family members, a friend, that they feel comfortable coming and talking to me, knowing that I can try to help their situation. And I try to show that support and let them know that I care about them by going to extracurricular activities, whether it's sporting events, concerts, plays, just to show that I care and offer my support. And hopefully they understand that if they have an issue, they can come talk to me about it.
What has been intense during your career?
Well, being a police officer comes with a certain amount of danger and different elements that most other people wouldn't really feel comfortable dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And it is pretty intense when you're dealing with violent criminals and people that have weapons and have the intentions of hurting people. So I would say dealing with violent criminals and suspects that are trying to hurt you, that have weapons, and also, just a simple response to a fatal motor vehicle accident, that has a pretty lasting effect as well. So just dealing with people in crisis and emergencies and dangerous people, that's pretty intense.
How do you work with Fritz, and what commands are used?
Fritz is a scent detection narcotics dog. He is trained to alert on certain substances that students aren't allowed to have in school, mainly marijuana, THC, and vaping products. He is going to be trained in search and rescue friendly find tracking this summer. He'll be able to track and locate missing people, whether it's little children, special needs individuals, elderly that may be experiencing from Alzheimer's and dementia. So he's going to help find missing people, which will be really beneficial to the department and the community. He is right now obedient trained, where some of the commands, I'll just go down the list, is sit, down, stay, heel, place, leave it, out.
What are your greatest weaknesses and strengths?
Some of my strengths would probably be I have a good work ethic, I'm honest, trustworthy, loyal, friendly, sense of humor, approachable, probably a pretty good communicator because I'm dealing with people and mostly students on a daily basis. I probably have way too many weaknesses to mention, but I'll just say that every day I try to improve myself and work on getting better at least something on a daily basis. There are a lot of things to improve on, but I do try to improve on something every single day and just make myself a better person.
So Dad, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, hopefully I'm still working as a police officer in the schools with K-9 Fritz and preparing to retire in a few short years, hopefully relocating and moving to a warmer place like Florida or South Carolina.
Okay, great. Thank you.
It is good to see Officer Clarke in school as our school resource officer, but it is interesting to see his life in the community and his other hobbies. The sixth project we are going to be showing is Dori interviewing her grandmother, Nancy Devin, who has had many jobs that helped the community and was the first female deputy auditor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
My grandma was the first female deputy auditor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. She had a responsibility for auditing all of the funds and departments. Hi, I'm Dorothy Walsh and I'm a student at Monomoy Regional High School. And today I'm here with my grandma, Nancy Devin, and thank you for letting me interview you.
Thank you for interviewing me.
Okay, so the first question is, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Boston, which is in Dorchester, which is a part of Boston. And in the days that I grew up, and it still is today, a very strong neighborhood with many activities, and went to the local schools, went to the dances, and in my era, it was a lot of fun, which was growing up in the 60s and 50s, 60s, and 70s. And it was just a great time, great neighborhood, and great friends.
Okay, tell me about the different jobs you've had and what they were like throughout the years.
Jobs. I've had a variety of jobs in my lifetime, and many of them very rewarding. Most of my adult life, I was involved in the politics. I started with working for the Boston School Committee and working for the chairman at that time. And it was an interesting time. It was a sad time too, because it was during the busing of Boston school kids, which was a tough time for the city of Boston. Then from there, I went with the city council, and I worked for a city councilor up there. And I spent 2 years there. And then after that, I went with state auditor, John Finnegan, and I went over he was representative for the Dorchester area, and I more or less did his constituent work, which consists of, anything people needed, or going to meetings, trying to fix lights, streets, any of the concerns that the constituents had in the district. So that was primary my job, and attending budget hearings and doing all types of services. From there, he was appointed to state auditor. At that time, we were saying the state auditor is, we're saying, what do they do? We were going over there, but what it is, it's a check and balance. It's a watchdog for the Commonwealth. It audits all of the agencies that are listed in the Commonwealth, and that goes from any of the court systems, which court systems was a big issue because the courts weren't keeping adequate records. And what we would do is we would go in, look at the records, and then come up with findings. Most of them all had to be corrected, and at which time they would do, and they would correct that and would have a better check with the balances. However, there is room at that time. There was a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse, and that's what the prime office of the auditor is, to address those. I mean, it goes from, like I mentioned, the courts, it goes to the legislature, it goes to the Department of Transportation, construction, welfare, any of the services for home care or daycare, and would go in and investigate them. A lot of things you'd find would be amazing. Like, one of them was like working for this agency that was working for child care. They were licensed with the state, so the state would have to go in and audit them. And you'd find that, you know, the director or whatever, they were driving around in a Jaguar, yet the services were not being provided where they should have been to the clients. So again, that was corrected, people were fired, and so we really had a very good rapport then with all of the agencies, because they knew that, you know, this auditor is really gonna go after and make a difference. One of the ones too that I did when I mentioned rewarding is that I worked for the Boston Police Department, and I had, as a younger person, I was doing the 911, which was definitely an eye-opener. To be working with 911 in this city of Boston at that time was, and still is today, you know, a lot of responsibility. Some of the calls would be crazy, like, can you tell me what time it is, or do you know what date it is, or how do I get to the MBTA station near me? And others you'd have, you know, assaults, batteries, suicides, and you're working with lost children. So again, you're there to assist. So I guess my whole life has kind of been public service, and it's something very rewarding to me, and I was very glad and very proud of my service to the Commonwealth.
What's your favorite thing about being a grandmother and a great-grandmother?
Being a grandmother, I am very blessed to be able to say I have 11 beautiful grandchildren. You, Dorothy, being the 11th, my baby, and who has brought so much joy to me. I am fortunate, very fortunate, to be able to say that I am a great-grandmother, and I have 2 great-granddaughters. They're adorable, Mila and Madison. And we also have, or I should say I also have, a great-grandson, beautiful, Callan. And we're expecting the 4th very soon, like next month. To say what it is, it's different, I think, when you're a parent and you're bringing up. I had 3 children, and when you're bringing them up, you're so busy and you're working and you're trying to keep up with them and your job and bills and whatever. And my job was very, as I explained, was very, very demanding, and took a lot of time, and a lot of time away from home. However, it was such a great pleasure to be able to be a grandmother and to be able to spend time with them. And it was especially great when I was able to retire and spend more time with the family and my own children. And it's just been great. And now here I am, a great-grandmother. And I think I'm going to be part of the last generation that you're going to see a great-grandmother, because today, you know, a lot of kids they're not having children, and they're not getting married. Everything is career and it's later. So, but it is an experience. There were many joys that we've had with travels and the things that we've done. But the main thing, and one thing that is always consistent, and I'm so proud of, is that we are family, and we spend family together, always giving and helping and taking care. And that's my greatest joy. Out of all my accomplishments, it is my children, my grandchildren, and my great-grandchildren.
So, is there anything else you want to add?
I would be remiss if I did not add my love for my grand dog. He is my grand dog. Oh, okay, watch this. Sit. Give me your paw. Can I have a kiss? Oh. This is Sammy, and Sammy lives with Dorothy. And Sammy is the best dog. Sammy is now, 11 years, so Sammy's getting on in age, but he's the most loyal and loving dog that there is. And this is Sammy. Sammy, say goodbye, Sammy. Thanks again, Dorothy. I've enjoyed it.
Good time interviewing my grandma, and it was also interesting to learn what her life was like before having grandchildren. The 7th project we are going to be showing is Luke interviewing his grandfather, Jeff Taylor, who has been a state police officer for many years and has helped make the community a safer place.
Hello, my name is Luke, and in this world there are police officers that solve crimes to help the people around them. They make the community a better place overall. One of those people happens to be my grandfather, who was a police officer for many years. People may think of him as just a police officer, but he is just my grandfather. Let's go get to know him. Hi, today I'm here with my grandfather, Jeff Taylor. Thank you for joining me.
It was my pleasure, Luke.
First question, what did you like to do when you were growing up? Like, did you play any sports or anything like that?
Yeah, I played all sports, my mother worked a lot of hours, and she was a single parent, so I didn't spend much time at home because I'd be alone. So I was at the YMCA all the time, and whatever sport was being played that time of the year in school, I'd play.
Was being a police officer your dream growing up?
No, actually, I wanted to play baseball. In my yearbook in high school, it says that if I couldn't make it in baseball, I would hope to get on the state police. So I was thinking about it back then, after that career day thing. And, I almost had a chance to sign with the Cleveland Indians, but it didn't work out. And I went to college for 1 year, played 1 more year of baseball, and then I went in the Army for 3 years.
What were some struggles of becoming a police officer?
The major struggle with becoming a trooper was not only the training it took and everything, but before that, we were just in the Vietnam War. It was 1966, and the public didn't like police officers in general. And even though they had a better view of us, it wasn't good. And having that negativity in the public was hard for me to rationalize. Trying to do a good job and with people who don't necessarily like you, so that was hard to rationalize, but I got through it.
How did you get to move up in the ranks while being on the state police?
They had a promotional exam system that for every rank there was a test you had to take, and you'd compete with whoever was in your rank. Like when I took the corporal's exam, there was 700 people that took the test, and the highest marks would get promoted first. So I ended up retiring as a lieutenant. So I had to take the corporal's exam, sergeants, staff sergeants, and lieutenant. And each time I'd have to spend about 150 hours studying. And you go on a list once you get your mark, and you get promoted as needed.
Where were you mostly located when you were on the state police?
After I got out of the academy, I went to Grafton as my first station. That was about 45 minutes from my house. And that's the closest I ever got in 33 years. I was stationed at Grafton, Sturbridge, Charlton, Northampton, Munson, Brookfield, Framingham, and Middleborough, down the Cape.
What do you do in your spare time, being away from an officer?
The state police didn't have spare time. We usually worked about 100 hours a week, and that wouldn't include, you didn't get paid overtime because you lived in the barrack system. But I'd work about 100 hours a week in the system. And I'd work road details to pick up extra money on my days off. So I averaged over 100 hours a week.
Do you enjoy being a police officer?
Yeah, when I set out to join the state police and I gained success in making that, I made a career out of it, and I really enjoyed it. It was very fulfilling for me to help people and do what I could to make things better, but I don't know how much better anything is today than it was. I think it's probably worse. So you could look at it as we might have been the lesser of two evils, but I enjoyed myself when I worked.
Luke's grandfather had a great career in the state police, but it is good to see his involvement in his grandchildren. Now, he is happily enjoying his life in retirement. The final project we are going to be showing is Felipe about Rafael Abreu, who saves lives as a lifeguard and invests in his future. Let's dive into how he made it all happen and his life behind the scenes.
Hello, I am Felipe de Souza, and there are a lot of people that may go unnoticed and have a very important role in our everyday lives. Today, I'll be interviewing my cousin, Rafael, who is a lifeguard. So, let's dive in to knowing what him and his experiences as a job has affected him and everyone around him. Let's go. Today we are here with Rafael de Souza, as he is here, and today we'll be diving into his life as a lifeguard and his life outside of school and his ventures in life. So, Raph, let's get into it. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Well, thank you for asking. I hope that I'll be continuing my academic future by then, hopefully in school in Boston. I should be finishing up my bachelor degree by then, and then I'll be able to carry on to a law degree. I hope to be in law school. I have a girlfriend at this time. I hope to be married to her. A couple kids, 7, 6. But I hope it all ends up being good. You know, it's a good future overall. 5 years, it's a good area of growth. I hope to learn a lot.
What do you do on your spare time?
That's also another really good question. Well, I don't really have much spare time. I have 3 tech companies, 2 nonprofits, and a lot of charities. But when I do have spare time, I like to play video games. I love to draw. I love communication. Networking is a big thing of mine. I love networking within the society, you know. But yeah, pretty much.
Okay. How was the training? How long did it take?
Oh, talking about lifeguarding now. Well, yeah, as you know, that is my side hustle when I'm not running all my businesses. But the training took a period of about, it could range anywhere between like 18 years to 6 months. I was able to get it done in 5 days, 30-hour period because of how intellectually superior I am to these other people. But overall, great experience. You meet great people. Mitchell was also at my lifeguard training. He also got it done very quick. He's a very academic person, very smart, high intellectual as well. But overall, great experience. Diving deeper into that, however, yes, we did do things specifically like CPR, first aid. CPR was one of the tougher courses. I really wanted to make sure I had it down. I naturally already knew CPR coming out of the womb, but it was good to, like, you know, remaster what I had already learned prior. And with that, overall, like I said prior, it's a fun course. I just really want to make sure I had it down, though, since this has to do with the lives of others.
What is one of the craziest or most infamous things that have happened at work?
All right, well, it's not too crazy of an experience. It was very problematic for me, and it still has subsequent issues within my life today, very reoccurring, sensitive topic, but we did lose a life in the pool over the summer. a hummingbird found its way into the water, and I just couldn't get to it in time. I tried talking to others, tried to help out, but to no avail. We were able to save it. We got out of the water, but it was already gone. I tried CPR, 30 minutes, just too far gone. We made a little hole for it outside, but that was it.
What has been your favorite part of being a lifeguard?
Honestly, beautiful question. My favorite part is seeing the smiles on the kids' faces and watching them enjoy being able to learn how to swim and the free food and like being able to really help out these children become acquainted with this very dangerous but also beautiful thing, H2O, dihydrogen monoxide. Yes, that's hands down my favorite.
Raphael is an ambitious high schooler and will do great things in the future.
We had a great time showing off all of our projects.
Thanks for watching.
See you next time.
Bye.